Let's talk to Eric Neumayer, who is a professor of environment and development, as well as the pro-vice chancellor at the London School of Economics and Political Science. Good to have you on the show, Eric. You know, many have referred to the current decade as the decisive decade. I mean, when it comes to climate action. In the lead up to COP26, some key announcements were made at the UNGA. Do you think that we've been able to sort of take the very important key steps necessary to not only protect our planet, but also ensure prosperity?
So I think that what has happened so far and the announcements so far, by far, are not sufficient. I am somewhat optimistic about COP in Glasgow itself. I think we will see a major shift compared to announcements and commitments that have been made so far. But I'm under no illusion. I don't think it will be near enough to get us to 1.5 degrees centigrade. I think that is almost impossible to achieve. And I think the best that we can achieve is probably something more closer to 2.5 degrees or above. But even that is better than business as usual predictions. So I am cautiously optimistic, but not too much.
Okay, if you think that what we've done so far is not enough, what do you think are some of the key areas that are vital for a sustainable or substantive climate agreement in Glasgow?
So I think what is really important in Glasgow is that political leaders don't just make long-term announcements or announcements about long-term commitments, but focus on the next 5 or so years, or the period that they themselves are in office. It's all too easy for politicians to say by 2030, by 2035, or sometimes even by 2050, when they no longer will be in office, nowhere near in office, to make commitments. That's not what we need. We need real commitments for the foreseeable future. We need to see action right now, not in 5 years' time, not promises, but action, decisive action now.
Al Gore said that it's time for humanity to grow up. I mean, you said, talking about timing, things need to be done on a much shorter scale. Time is an asset that many countries don't have. I mean, when you look at Africa, it carries the heaviest burden when it comes to the climate crisis, but it only contributes less than 5% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. I mean, the question is, can richer countries sort of come together and forge the way for a collective effort?
So that's going to be the million-dollar question, if you like. You are right that places like Africa have very low emissions at the moment. But of course, they will be, unless something significantly happens, also be the places that see the very strongest increases in emissions. And it's very, very important that richer developed countries can demonstrate to poorer developing countries that it is possible to both remain prosperous and to cut back emissions, essentially down to net zero. This is the obligation that the richer countries are under, first and foremost. And of course, it is very important to come collectively together to help poorer developing countries for their transition to lower emissions. I think it's very, very difficult. As I said, I'm only cautiously optimistic, but it is now or never.
Okay. Eric, pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time.